They talked about you when you were down. Not to your face, never to your face. That would have required the kind of courage that gossips don't carry. They talked about you in group chats you weren't in, over dinners you weren't invited to, in living rooms where your name was dessert, something sweet to share after the meal, something to pass around and pick apart for entertainment. They discussed your breakup like it was a plot twist in a show they were watching. They analyzed your financial problems with the authority of people who had never once offered to help. They whispered about your weight, your skin, your energy, your silence, turning your suffering into a spectacle they could consume from a safe distance while feeling better about their own lives. Your lowest season was their content, and they feasted on it, and now you're rising, and they are choking on the silence. Okay, so I literally had to stop what I was doing to record this because the energy on this one is not playing around. I'm Stella Love Tarot with Stella. Subscribe if you're new because we stay busy around here. Real quick, only take what resonates, leave what doesn't. You know how we do. Now, let me get into this because, oh my gosh, I have been waiting to tell somebody this all day. Let me tell you what happened during your low season because I need you to understand the full picture, not just what you went through, but what was happening behind your back while you went through it. You were dealing with something real, something heavy, something that required every ounce of energy you had just to survive another day. And while you were in that survival mode, while you were lying awake at 3 in the morning doing math you shouldn't have had to do, while you were showing up to work with a face that cost you everything to hold together, while you were eating meals that tasted like nothing because your body had shut down the pleasure centers to conserve energy for basic functioning. People who smiled in your presence were dissecting you in your absence. And here's what makes it worse. Some of them had information, not because you freely shared it, because they extracted it. They asked the right questions at the right moments. They caught you in a vulnerable hour when your defenses were down and you said more than you intended. Or they pieced it together from fragments, a post you deleted too late, a conversation someone else relayed, a shift in your behavior that they interpreted with the accuracy of people who were studying you for sport rather than out of concern. And they took that information that was given or gathered in a context of trust or at least assumed privacy, and they distributed it. They traded your pain like currency. The more details they had, the more interesting they became at parties. The more of your suffering they could narrate, the more central they felt in a social ecosystem that rewards people who have stories to tell about other people's failures. I need you to understand something about why they did this. It was not about you. It was never about you. People who gossip about someone's lowest season are not responding to your situation. They are responding to their own terror of being in a similar one. Your fall was a threat to them because if it could happen to you, you who seemed to have it together, who did things right, who worked hard and loved honestly and showed up consistently, then it could happen to anyone. It could happen to them. And rather than sit with that terrifying possibility, they turned your experience into a narrative they could distance themselves from. Did you hear about what happened to them? Is never a question born from empathy. It's a containment strategy. By making your story an object to examine from outside, they reassured themselves that they were on the inside, safe, stable, immune to the kind of collapse they were watching you endure. Your pain made them feel protected, and that is the ugliest form of human cowardice that exists. And I need to tell you something about the group dynamics because it's coming through clearly. There was a ringleader, one person who set the tone, one person who brought your name up first, who framed the narrative, who decided the angle sympathy laced with satisfaction, concern that was actually consumption, and the rest followed. Not because they all had opinions about you, most of them barely had a relationship with you deep enough to warrant one. They followed because agreeing with the gossip was the price of admission to the group. Social belonging in exchange for your dignity. They traded your reputation for a seat at a table they were terrified of being excluded from. And the sickest irony is that some of those people actually liked you. Privately, individually, they had warmth for you. But warmth doesn't survive group dynamics when the group has decided you're the sacrifice. Warmth gets tucked away in a pocket where nobody sees it, while the mouth says whatever the room expects. Some of those people feel sick about it now. I'm picking that up clearly. One or two of them replay specific conversations, specific things they said or laughed at or failed to push back against, and the shame of it hits them at random moments in the shower, driving alone, right before sleep when the mind goes honest against your will. They know what they did. And they're watching your rise with a very different flavor of silence than the ringleader. Their silence isn't resentment, it's guilt. And guilt, unlike resentment, sometimes leads to something useful, but only if you decide their remorse is worth your time. That's your call, not theirs. I keep getting the number 9 around you right now. 9 is completion, endings, the final page of a chapter that has gone on longer than it should have. It means the season where you were material for other people's conversations is closed permanently. What opens now is a season where the only people talking about you are doing so because they can't believe what they're watching you become. And the tone has shifted entirely. The gossip was gleeful. The silence is stunned. I'm picking up the initials C or G connected to the main gossiper, and for some of you, it's an M or a P. The ringleader, the one who organized the narrative. Drop those initials in the comments if they hit. Now, let me tell you about your rise, because this is the part that is actively destroying the people who talked. You didn't rise with revenge. You didn't rise with vindication energy. You didn't post about your comeback or announce your healing or make sure the people who doubted you knew exactly how wrong they were. You rose quietly, almost silently, the same way you suffered with a composure that most people can't fathom. One day you were at the bottom, and then one day, without fanfare, without explanation, without a single public declaration, you weren't anymore. Something shifted. Your face changed first. The tension around your eyes dissolved. The color came back to your skin. The weight you'd been carrying, literal or figurative, redistributed itself into something that looked less like burden and more like strength. You started moving differently, standing taller, speaking slower, making eye contact that lasted a beat longer than the version of you that was drowning would have ever been able to sustain. People noticed. The ones who cared about you noticed with relief. The ones who gossiped about you noticed with something else entirely. A cocktail of disbelief, resentment, and a very specific kind of fear. Because your rise dismantled their narrative. The story they told about you required you to stay down. That was the ending they'd written for you, permanent decline. She'll never recover from that. He's done. They're not coming back from this one. That was the satisfying conclusion that allowed the gossip to feel like analysis rather than cruelty. And you ruined it. You ruined it by getting back up. You ruined it by glowing. You ruined it by becoming the most radiant version of yourself they have ever seen, forged in the exact fire they were using to warm their hands. And now they're watching. I need you to understand how they're watching. Not openly, not with acknowledgement. They don't comment on your posts. They don't reach out to congratulate you. They don't say a word, and that silence is the loudest thing in this reading because during your low season, they had plenty of words. They had opinions and theories and observations and unsolicited analysis flowing freely. And now, nothing. Dead quiet, teeth clenched, thumbs scrolling past your name with a deliberate casualness that fools nobody. They see what you're becoming. They see the new energy, the new confidence, the new opportunities, and they cannot bring themselves to say a single word about it because acknowledging your rise means acknowledging that they were wrong. And worse, it means acknowledging that they enjoyed watching you fall. And that's a mirror they cannot face. I'm getting strong Leo and Aries energy around your rise fire, unapologetic, visible, impossible to ignore fire. For some of you, I'm also picking up Capricorn energy, the calculated rebuild. You didn't just bounce back, you restructured everything. New priorities, new standards, new tolerance levels for the kind of people you allow into your orbit. For the gossipers, I'm picking up heavy Gemini and Libra energy, air signs, people who live in the social sphere, people whose identity is constructed from how others perceive them, people for whom social currency is the primary currency. And watching you succeed without needing their approval is an existential threat to the way they've built their entire world. For some of you, I'm picking up physical impressions about the main gossiper. Someone who smiles too easily, the kind of smile that engages the mouth but not the eyes. Someone who touches people when they talk, a hand on the arm, a squeeze of the shoulder, not from warmth but from strategy. There's something performed about their concern. They ask, "How are you?" with an inflection that is mining for information rather than offering support. You've felt this. You sensed it even during your lowest season, something about their sympathy that felt more like surveillance. Your instinct was right. It was surveillance. And the intelligence they gathered was redistributed the moment they left your presence. Now, let me tell you about the person who is entering your life or deepening their presence in it during this high season. Because while the gossipers are choking on silence, someone else has been watching your rise with an entirely different energy. Not surprise, not resentment, something closer to awe. This person has been observing your transformation with the quiet intensity of someone who understands exactly what it cost because they've paid similar prices in their own life. They know what it looks like when someone rebuilds from rubble. They recognize the specific glow of a person who was forged rather than formed. And they are drawn to it like gravity, not because your success is attractive, although it is, but because the character underneath the success is the rarest thing they've ever encountered. This person thinks about you in ways that would unsettle you if you knew the full extent. They imagine standing beside you, not in front of you, not behind you, beside you as you continue to rise. They imagine being the person who was there for the ascent, not the person who showed up after you made it, the one who was there while you were building, while the scaffolding was still visible, while the doubts were still loud. They imagine a Sunday morning with you where neither of you is performing, your hair undone, your guard down. Them making something simple in a kitchen that smells like coffee and calm while you sit somewhere nearby and talk about nothing important in that voice you use when you're actually relaxed, the one that's lower and slower than your public voice. They've imagined that voice. They've imagined what it would feel like to be the reason it exists. And they've imagined harder things too. The conversation you haven't had yet, where you tell them what it was actually like, not the polished version, not the "it was tough, but I learned from it" version that you give everyone else, the real one, the one where your voice shakes and your hands grip the edge of whatever you're sitting on and you say things out loud that you've never said to another human being because you didn't trust anyone enough to hold them. They imagine hearing all of it, the rage, the humiliation, the nights you considered giving up on everything and their face not changing, not to pity, not to discomfort, to understanding so complete, it feels like a second skin around you. They imagine being the place where you don't have to be over it yet, where you can still be angry about what happened and not have someone tell you to let it go, because they know from their own scars that let it go is something people say when someone else's pain is making them uncomfortable, and they are not uncomfortable with your pain. They are honored by it because sharing it means you trust them with the rawest thing you own. The desire is there, and I need to be direct because it's radiating through this reading. Something about the way you carry your comeback physically has rewired this person's sense of attraction. The straightness of your spine now, the way you hold your jaw, not clenched anymore, just set, decided, The way your eyes have changed, they're warmer and harder simultaneously, like someone who has learned the exact boundary between kindness and tolerance. This person notices all of it. The physical shifts that map directly onto the internal transformation, and when they imagine being close to you, it's never casual, it's reverent, like approaching a fire that burned hot enough to destroy everything false and now only gives warmth to what's real. They imagine their hands on the parts of you that carried the most weight, your shoulders, the back of your neck, the space between your shoulder blades where the tension used to live. They imagine feeling that tension be absent and knowing because they saw the season that created it exactly what that absence means. That intimacy of witness, knowing what someone survived by watching them survive, it is the foundation of everything they feel. And it is unshakable. The jealousy, of course, the jealousy. This person watches the gossipers circle back because some of them are circling back, aren't they? The ones who were loudest during your fall are now the ones sending the tentative texts. The casual likes on posts from someone who hasn't interacted with your content in months. The we should catch up from someone who had plenty of time to catch up when you were drowning and chose to spectate instead. And this person, the one who actually sees you, watches those latecomers with a fury that surprises them, not jealousy over attention, fury over audacity. The audacity of people who monetize your pain, now wanting a share of your peace. They feel protective of you in a way that has nothing to do with possession and everything to do with justice. You don't owe the audience anything. You never did. And this person will stand between you and every latecomer who tries to buy a ticket to a show they mocked when it was still in rehearsal. I keep getting the number 3. 3 is creative expression. Divine timing. It means what you're building in this season of elevation has a creative or expressive component that is going to surprise people. Something you create, a project, a business, a piece of content, an idea is going to gain traction in a way that makes the gossipers physically ill. Not because they wish you harm exactly, but because your visible success contradicts the story they told themselves about you to feel safe. And every piece of evidence that you're thriving is a direct challenge to their version of events. They said you were finished, you're just starting. They said you'd never recover. You've already surpassed where you were before the fall. They said the best was behind you. The best is so clearly in front of you that anyone with eyes can see it. And the people who talked, they have eyes. They see it, and they cannot say a word. I keep getting the number 8 alongside this abundance, financial shift, money moving towards you with a velocity that matches the energy you've been putting out since you started rebuilding. A new income stream, an opportunity with a number attached to it that makes you sit back. Something you invested in time, money, skill, producing a return that arrives at the exact moment the gossipers are watching. And the timing is not accidental. God has a very specific sense of dramatic irony. Your abundance will be visible to the exact people who narrated your scarcity. That's not revenge. That's receipt. If this is hitting you right now, drop the words, "they quiet now" in the comments. Like this video and subscribe because what happens in this community is different from anything else on this platform, and I need your energy in here. Now let me bring this home because I need to say something to the part of you that still hears the echoes of what they said. The gossip didn't just happen and disappear. It left residue. It planted seeds of doubt that still bloom sometimes, usually at night, usually when you're alone, usually when something good happens and a small voice whispers, "You don't deserve this," or "They were right about you," or "This won't last." Those whispers are not yours. They're echoes of other people's words that got lodged in your system during a season when your defenses were down and everything had access to your core. You absorbed their narrative because you were too depleted to filter it. And now you have to actively, deliberately, consciously evict it. Every time that whisper surfaces, every time you hear the ghost of their gossip trying to rewrite your present, you look at it directly and you say, you are a tenant from a season that's over. Your lease expired, get out. The number 11 is flashing, alignment, awakening. The moment where the internal reality finally matches the external one. You are not pretending to be okay. You are okay. Not in the fragile, don't touch it too hard way, in the rebuilt, restructured, reinforced way, the way that only someone who was completely dismantled and chose to reassemble themselves piece by piece can be okay. It's a different kind of okay. It's an okay that has looked at the worst and said, I survived that, and therefore there is very little left that can destroy me. That's not arrogance. That's arithmetic. You did the math. The math checks out. You're going to be fine, better than fine. And the people who talked are going to watch it happen without the ability to narrate it this time. Because this time, the only story being told is yours, in your voice, on your terms. And the audience that matters, the people who stayed, the people who saw, the people who are arriving now, they're listening, really listening. The way nobody listened during the season of gossip, your silence during the storm was not weakness, it was strategy. And the silence they're in now, that's not peace, that's defeat. Know the difference. And carry your crown accordingly, not on your head where everyone can see it, but in your posture, in your walk, in the steady, unbothered, unmovable calm of someone who already knows how the story ends because they're the one writing it now. Okay, I need you to go receive this now. Stop overthinking it. Stop talking yourself out of it. This is coming for you and you deserve it, period. If this hit like this video right now, share it with your person, subscribe because I am literally always in here dropping something, and comment below because I read every single one and I want to know who this is about. Okay, go. I love you. Bye.